Which brings us to our lions, conveniently enough. We've got Lexi, who has come back, and is hanging out with the double V's. We've got Joe. Joe's hanging out with Nikita, who's new lioness in town, and he's, I think, trying to show her the sights and uh, on his motorcycle, I think. But they have a nice little thread going. It's interesting to watch. Nikita has a photography store in the works, or a gallery that she's working on. We have Sam, of course, and she's hanging out with the Pride, trying to help keep things together. They're still together, but they've got to do a little bit of rebuilding. I think some people have drifted apart, and they're bringing them back in. And of course, we've got Zer and Yeek, and they're just the brothers. Uh, yeah, they're double Z. I mean, I don't know what else to say. They're awesome. Don't have any tigers anymore. The vampires. Okay, so we've got Annabelle, who's sort of the uppity young vampire, and she's got a thread with Single on the beach, which is interesting to watch. Of course, we've got Singh, our master of the city, the Machiavellian sort of leader that we all love to hope and tease, but he's a clever vampire, and he's managed to hold his reign for a long time, and I think even though, but for instance, Mina does not care for him personally. She didn't like their first meeting at all. I don't think they exactly had a fight, but they had some interesting things going on. And I think she and Singleon are constantly going to be testing each other, sort of like figuring out who's in charge in the relationship. And I don't know if they're ever going to get an answer to that question, because I think they're both a little too stubborn to back down. And we've got Domenico, who is new, and he's come to town for interesting reasons. We'll see how that goes. He is of Padma's line, and he can call all the big cats, which should be interesting to see. Obviously, that's sort of a polar opposite to Singleon, who calls rats. Cats and rats, and that should be interesting. We've got Dominic, he's the son of a vampire hunter, and some bad vampire decided, hey, let's get back at the vampire hunter. Let's kidnap his kid and turn him. So that's an interesting little story in and of itself. I think his father got killed, actually. I'm not 100% sure on that. I don't remember if we ever worked that into the plots or not, but obviously child vampires are a big no-no. They tend to be a little less stable than their adult counterparts. So having a child vampire around is sort of an interesting, odd little scenario just in and of itself, even added on to the other political things going on. We've got Gianna, who I think is also on. She's Allie. I'm not sure what all is going on with her, but she's one of Singh's loyal brood. Um, and then we've got Patty, who is having horrible internet problems in France. But he's an interesting vampire. He calls dragonflies, and as weird as that sounds, there is a vampire. Well, there was a vampire in the books called butterflies, so it's feasible. So, yeah, those are all the characters that I have listed right now. So, there's your introduction. Okay. Gosh, I think I've gone on long enough. What's going on with all of them? I think What's that? What's happening? And random things about upcoming plots, relations, current affairs, Anita Blake in general. I think I've covered all of the suggestions. um, yes. Yeah, okay, cool. Alright, so anything else I can think of? Oh, okay, well, when I'm in Berkeley I don't have access to my resources, but okay, here's half of my stack. These are the Anita Blake books. I have to double check my list to show off here. So, oh, these are all the new ones. Okay, oh, right, because the latest one's on top. Okay. I forgot how I stack my own books. Isn't that lovely? So I've got this one, the half, got photograph, then we've got this one too, I believe. Yep. I've gone to a couple of different signings with her. I have a few signed in her other series too. And these are just the latest ones. I have the original one here, all in hardback, which makes them heavier, which is why I don't take them up to Berkeley with me, because they'll take up a lot of space that I don't have in my apartment. Which is why when people ask questions about the universe that require looking up in the books, if I'm in San Diego, I can do it. If I'm in Berkeley, then it's basically just a web search. But this is the first 3 books in one volume. Kind of cool. The first book, for those of you who don't know, the first book is called Guilty Pleasures. I heartily recommend it. For anything bad that you hear about the series, like, oh, she put so much sex in, like, the sex doesn't start until, let's see, I think it's book 6. Yes, book 6. So you're good. For the first 5 books, there's no sex scenes. And I really like the first book the best. Guilty Pleasures was my favorite, and still is. It it just introduces you to the character. It introduces you to the world, mostly the vampire world. The lycanthropes don't come in as much until book 3. It starts out more with the vampires and the fact that she's a she's an animator. So she raises zombies for a living. And it's a cool world, so I recommend you check it out. Come on. Okay. So, that about concludes our first vidcast. I have talked for way too long, but I am being assured, even as we speak in Instant Messenger, that the hardcore Lukoians will listen to all of this. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't really mean to go on for about an hour, but okay. So, I guess I'll just say bye.